So, I've been thinking a lot about bringing more structure to my channel and bringing kind of a regular list of segments that have different categories that I cycle through so that you all know what to expect as soon as you choose a video of mine to watch. And one of the categories I'm thinking of would absolutely be the one that I would choose for this particular story. And it's called stupid news. News that, frankly, really shouldn't be news, but it makes me laugh, and I kind of want to talk about it and have some fun with it. And I think stupid news is a perfect category. Maybe we'll even debut it today with the story that we're going to cover. Columbia University Marching Band votes to disband after 116 years. Now, some of you might be asking, Carlin, it's a story about a marching band. Why are you doing a story about a marching band? Well, can you guess the reason they decided to disband? I'll give you 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Racism! Racism. Now, here's the deal, though, and I want to say this up front. I'm not convinced this is real. I think this might actually be a gag, and if it's a gag by the marching band, honestly, this would be one of the most epic trolls that I've seen so far. I mean, it would just be, perfectly executed. We would definitely be giving the Columbia University Marching Band a slow clap if this turns out to be a gag. But I'm also, I really don't know, honestly, because Columbia University is the home to the creator of the microaggression. He's actually a teacher at Columbia University, and a lot of this nonsense that we're seeing in terms of coming out and having safe spaces in colleges and things like that, a lot of it started, or at least was very early on implemented at Columbia University. So I really don't know. I don't know if this is fake. I don't know if this is real, but I think it's kind of funny. And so we're going to talk about it. Now, it seems as though this may have started on September 3rd. This is a post that was made on the Columbia University Marching Band Facebook page, and we're just going to take a quick gander. To the Columbia University community, as many of you know, in recent Columbia Confessions post on Facebook, the Columbia University Marching Band and its members have been cited for causing hurt, injury, and worse to members of the Columbia community. We know there were probably many more stories that have never reached a platform as wide as this. While many of these posts make reference to individual members, it is clear that a toxic culture within the Columbia University Marching Band, built up and emphasized over the years, is what has enabled these people to do damage to others, and it is not merely a problem of finding and punishing the individuals in question. Rather, it is the task of not only the board, who I guess is the head of the marching band, but the band as a whole to undergo major internal and external change to make the band a safer and more inclusive place and to repair our relationship with the Columbia University community. So apparently, there is systemic racism afoot in the Columbia University Marching Band. And so they issued this big, long statement about this. And then about a little over a week later, they issued this follow-up statement. On Saturday, September 12th, the Columbia University Marching Band held a town hall in order to discuss numerous anonymous postings and allegations of sexual misconduct, assault, theft, racism, and injury to individuals in the Columbia community as a whole. I don't know how many of you were in marching band in high school and college. I actually was. I was a band geek. I was a band geek from the time I was very, very young. I played the clarinet. I also played the saxophone. I occasionally dabbled in the drums just for a change of pace. I was definitely a band geek. And listen, if you watch American Pie, yeah, I mean, band geeks can be a little edgy. They really can be. But I have never been involved in a marching band that's been involved in, assault, theft, racism, and injury to what? What is going on in this marching band? The meeting had more than 20 band members in attendance, all of whom expressed their tremendous dissatisfaction with the organization and the injury it has caused to our members and the broader Columbia community. It's a marching band. The current band attempts to take responsibility both for the harm directly caused by the present band members and for injuries which occurred at other times in the band's history. The band has unanimously and enthusiastically decided to dissolve. The Columbia University Marching Band will not continue to exist in any capacity and will no longer serve as the Columbia Spirit Group. The Columbia University Marching Band apologizes for insults and injury victims have experienced as a result of actions perpetuated in its name. So apparently, not only were the band members doing shady stuff, but they were doing it in the full name of the Columbia University Marching Band. The band has maintained a club structure founded on the basis of racism, cultural oppression, misogyny, and sexual harassment. While substantial efforts have been made in recent years towards undoing the decades of wrongdoing, we as a band feel ultimately it is impossible to reform an organization so grounded in prejudice, cultures, and traditions. The more I read this, the more I think they're pulling a gag. I really do. And part of the reason I think they're pulling a gag is this article right here in the Columbia Spectator. And I don't this may not make the video, but this is part 1 of the article. And then there is a part 2, which they say is coming soon. So there is an epilogue to the story of the dissolution of the Columbia University Marching Band. But listen, the first line in this particular article is what leads me to believe that this is probably a gag. The self-proclaimed cleverest band in the world voted to disband the organization on Saturday evening after 116 years of performing music, making controversial jokes, and disputing both Columbia's administration and the student body. In a statement provided to Spectator by band leadership, the band's leadership, known as the board, wrote that the band has unanimously and enthusiastically decided to withdraw or dissolve. We've already read that. The announcement came after a year of transition for the marching band. 3 days before Columbia's football's 2019 home opener, Columbia Athletics stripped the band of its remainder of university funding. So essentially what's happened is this band has done some things to piss off the university and before, which means they're like a mischievous little bunch. This is, perhaps we could even say, this is like the Milo Yiannopoulos of marching bands. And in retaliation to that, the university has pulled their funding, which, I'm sorry, seems to be like one of the pettiest things I've ever heard of in my life by a university. Listen, there are kids that want to be in band when they go to college. They should have an option, especially at a place like Columbia. You're telling me at an Ivy League school, they can't figure out a way to provide an option of being in a marching band. Like, if they can't figure out a way to maintain the marching band, should these people really be responsible for educating young minds? I'm gonna say no. Let's keep going. 1 year prior, Columbia College and the School of Engineering and Applied Science withdrew their portion of the marching band's funding in response to the band storming Butler Library during Orgo Night in December 2017. The athletic department informed the band that in order to maintain the band's funding from the department, it must become recognized as a group. The marching band did not submit its paperwork for recognition and were subsequently financially cut off from the university and prohibited from performing or bringing instruments to any official athletic. You have a university that's at war with its own marching band. Like, you can't, dude, you can't make this stuff up. But the marching band did not give up. The marching band protested this decision by holding weekly field shows on low steps and starting a GoFundMe, which raised over $25,000 in less than a week. The marching band and the athletic department agreed the marching band would play at homecoming, putting to rest the latest iteration of a decades-long struggle between the band, the university, Columbia Athletics, and the student body. There was a coming together. I hope there were hugs involved. I mean, come on. This is ridiculous. The internal movement to disband the marching band began when 5 former and current members wrote a letter to the remaining members of the board. The members called to dissolve the band in all capabilities, arguing the alleged traditions of misconduct were too steeped in the band's cultural and reformation and could not remove the traces of harm those practices called. There is systemic harm in the marching band. Wouldn't this problem just be solved by putting like an advisor or a mentor with the marching band? Like, why? Like, okay, like, let's just pause and assume that this is not an epic gag for a second. And frankly, even if it is a gag, there does seem to be like animosity between the band and the university. Why not just give them an advisor? Give them a mentor. Give them someone that's going to whip them into shape. Give them to someone who's going to, like, stop this nonsense. They're a marching band, for crying out loud. In response to these confessions, the board released a statement on September 2nd. We just read that at the beginning. It remains up in the air whether the marching band will lose its funding through dissolution. Ultimately, the decision of whether or not an official marching band exists is up to the discretion of Columbia Athletics, which has not responded to a request for comment. Without sporting events until at least January, the marching band will not play this fall. The current band hopes that the band's dissolution will provide relief to the present suffering of the Columbia community and time to heal from the decades of harm caused by this organization. This can't be real. This can't be real. We also hope that the marching band's disbandment can create a space that allows for the formation of a new spirit group that will provide a safe and inclusive outlet for Columbia, for students to play music at Columbia. Okay, so they're replacing the band with a new band. Like, what? Okay. Like, if this is real, if this is real, Columbia University really should lose its Ivy League status. I mean, come on. This is actually absurd. If you cannot maintain a marching band, that is not rocket science, folks. It's just not. However, the band's acknowledgement of its troubling past has struck a negative chord with some. Steve Greenfield, a former drum major for the band, expresses his disdain for this shift in opinion on the band's September 2nd statement, condemning its actions. Greenfield claimed that any new iteration of the band would not have the same irreverent spirit of the version which has existed for the past century. The band is gone. And if and when it returns, it will be exactly what the corporations bankrolling Ivy League sports, specifically because Ivy League sports is an essential establishment power identification and training system, want it to be. This can't be real. I don't know. Do you guys think this is real? Do you guys think this is a hoax? I am coming down on the side of this is a hoax. Leave a comment. Let me know where you stand. If you enjoyed this edition, the first ever edition of Stupid News, please consider subscribing to the channel, all that good stuff. I can't wait for part 2 of this to come out. I'm dying in anticipation to learn if this is actually a hoax. And again, if it is a hoax, I mean, this band has some balls, if this is a hoax, to pull this to mock cancel culture and everything that's going on, like, at Columbia University. Bravo, my friends. And if it's not a hoax, you guys got to settle down. You really, really do. That's my best advice.